Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 9-game NBA main slate on Wednesday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL sites on Draftkings. If you are unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. I will link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you guys are interested in signing up for premium content, I'll offer that on Patreon.com. A couple different packages: esports, which includes CSGO, an upcoming Call of Duty in a couple days, as well as an NBA package. And then finally, I want to thank Prize Picks for sponsoring the show. If this is your first time watching, or maybe you're just not familiar with what it is, basically the idea is you're taking over/under on fantasy points. So for example, LUKA Doncic is projected for 52 fantasy points. Do you like the under, do you like the over? You can also mix and match sports. They have college, they have esports, PGA, all that good stuff. If you guys want to sign up, you can use the code DKDFS, DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You get 100% match up to $100. And finally, I just really want to thank you guys for the support on these videos, as well as the Top Shot videos. I made a couple videos now for Top Shot, and you guys seem to really like those. So if you guys do enjoy this content, hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know to upload videos you know live. I want to apologize for not being able to live stream tonight on YouTube. Just had to stay late for work, and unfortunately I wasn't able to. But I will be live streaming tomorrow, and let's aim for 200 likes on this video if we can get there, guys. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before I talk about players and the prices for this 9-game slate, we got to look back at my lineup here from Tuesday. So Tuesday, I made a 2v2 swap. First, I warned everyone of getting popped. I warned everyone. It was the third game in 4 nights. I was like, you got to be careful with the Spurs. So what I had was I had John Wall and I had Lonnie Walker. And I figured, okay, Lonnie Walker with no Derek White probably will get some good minutes. And then we got that news that he was going to be on a minutes limit. And I was just like, oh man, like we don't really know what the minutes limit is. It's Popovich. Like he could literally play 5 minutes. I was like, all right, I am not going to get popped. I refuse to get popped on the slate. So what happened? Well, I had to upgrade at shooting guard. There's no one else to go down to. So what I did, I upgraded to Shake Milton to get a little bit contrarian. Then I had to go down from John Wall, who I really liked. Again, he was a core play for me tonight, but I had to get off him because I was not getting popped with Lonnie Walker. And so what did I have left? About 6.6K. Looking at that range, I'm like, okay, DeJounte Murray is the guy I feel the most confident in for minutes, right? He is, even when DeRozan got popped like in that one game like a week ago, DeJounte got close to 30 minutes. He's a young guy. I'm like, okay, DeJounte is the guy I feel the most comfortable with. I will make the pivot to him and hope he just does decent. So what happened? I got popped. DeJounte Murray played like 20 minutes. So let's go over my lineup. I can't even be mad about it. I knew it. I knew the risk, but I was just like, I had to get off Lonnie Walker. And the pivot to Shake Milton obviously isn't great either. But yeah, just I knew it. I knew better, and I still played a Spur. But yeah, it is what it is. So lineup: Kyrie, Shake Milton, Jeremy Grant, Draymond Green. Again, the game blew out there. That was a little bit unfortunate. Vucevic, DeJounte Murray, James Ennis, and Frank Mason. So not going to cash tonight because of DeJounte Murray. He was 50% owned. He was really popular. Again, it was just what I had left over. John Wall is the guy I really liked. He was a core play for me. My core was Kyrie, Jeremy Grant, Vooch, and John Wall, who all did really well as long as, this Orlando game stays close. I do feel good about it because I mentioned in the Patreon live stream, I talked about it too in the YouTube video, that I was really high in the Detroit Brooklyn game stack. I know a lot of my Patreon subs ended up doing that, and they're on pace for some really big money. I mentioned Harden with Kyrie to run it back with Jeremy Grant and one of DeLon Wright or Mason Plumlee. So happy about that. Sure, I'm not going to cash myself, but I know a lot of Patreon subs will have a really, really good night. So yeah, it is what it is, right? I knew there was a risk with playing any Spur. But I was just not willing to take like a donut from Lonnie Walker. So I had to pivot off him and pivot off John Wall, who did great, to DeJounte Murray, who plays like 20 minutes. Yeah, never ever. I've never made a good pivot once. Never. It's never happened in the history of DFS for me. But yeah, that's it for the look back, guys. I hope you guys had a better night. And let's see if we can have a good night for this 9-game slate. So We have 4 of the 9 games out right now. We have Hawks and Mavs at 233 over under. The Mavs are 4-point favorites. Hornets and Grizzlies at 226 over under. The Grizzlies are 4-point favorites. Pelicans, Bulls 230.5 over under. The Pelicans are 3-point favorites. And Cavs, Nuggets a 223 over under. The Nuggets are 9.5-point favorites. So let's start off with Toronto and Washington. Really like the matchup here for these Toronto Raptors, but again, I just don't know which one of these to go with ever. So Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam both had really good games at last game because Kyle Lowry got injured. So we got to take that with a grain of salt. Lowry is back. Lowry's the cheapest of the bunch at 7.3, but he's also probably been the most up and down. I don't know. I think of the big 3 for Toronto, if I had to pick one, it actually would be Lowry, just because of the price point. Again, Fred VanVleet has been their best player so far this year. He's flashed some huge upside. I think I might give that to Lowry. It would be close. Also, I mean, really all 3 of these Toronto guys are in play because of the matchup. So I like all 3 a good amount. Norman Powell at 6.8. The minutes should be there, but if I'm going to pay up for one of these Raptors, I would just rather pay a little bit more for Lowry, Siakam, and VanVleet. And then Chris Boucher, I like him a good amount here for tournaments. The minutes have been pretty consistent, knock on wood, for him. 27, 33, and 29 minutes. It's a fantastic matchup. If we get 30 minutes again from Chris Boucher, I realistically think he's got 50 plus fantasy point upside in this spot. So I do like Chris Boucher a good amount there for tournaments. The rest of the players, I'm probably not going to get to anyone. On the Washington side, so, I mean, I think this price on Westbrook is just too cheap. So, we got to talk about this. That Miami game, blowout. Charlotte game, on pace for about 60. Blowout. So, price continues to drop. There is no reason his price should be dropping. Right? He was on pace for a massive game at pretty low ownership the last game. I'm still mad about that. But if this game stays close, we will get 35 or so minutes from Russell Westbrook on 8.4K. That is just too cheap. What we have to factor in here is the realistic chance this game does not stay close, which there's a chance because Washington is absolutely terrible. But if it does, if we get 35 minutes out of Westbrook, I have I don't see a way he doesn't pay off that salary. Unless maybe we get foul trouble or something weird like that. Other options on Washington. Rui, secondary play. Bertans at 4.6. Did play, the minutes just for these secondary players for Washington fluctuate so much. And Bertans is just so reliant in the scoring that I don't even know if I can do it. Really, Alex Len? I just knew it would happen. Chalk, everyone plays him, 8 minutes. Next game, no one plays him. Scared he's going to get limited minutes. Great game. That's probably it for me. Again, I really I don't trust the secondary pieces for Washington. If you want to take a shot on one of these guys, sure, but I'm just not going to go there. Moving on to Atlanta and Dallas. Trae Young, just like Steph Curry, is always in play for tournaments. Not really a cash game play for me at this price plus the matchup, but he is perfectly fine for tournaments. Capella, Collins, when Trae Young's in, don't love either. Herter, Reddish, Gallinari, just all secondary plays for me. So no one really stands out here on the Atlanta side, to be honest. On the Dallas side, the top 2 stars look pretty good in a good matchup. LUKA and Porzingis. I don't know if I'd play both, but I think one of these guys will have a really good game, right? So LUKA had an off game last game, and it was Porzingis that went off. Porzingis had an off game there against Golden State, and it was LUKA that went off, right? LUKA went for 70. So I don't think I play both these guys, unless you're just going full game stack and you're hoping for maybe overtime or just a huge shootout. But yeah, I think getting to one of those Dallas stars is not a bad idea at all. I like targeting players against this Atlanta Hawks team. And both those guys should get some good minutes, right? 35 plus for both, I expect. Other options here, Hardaway, a little bit too reliant in scoring. Josh Richardson at 5.2. I think it's still doable, but now this is priced about right. He's been a little up and down, but some games, he can stuff the stat sheet. So I think he's, again, secondary play. Maxi Kleber at 4.6. The minutes kind of fluctuate in him, only 25 minutes the last game, so don't love it. Dorian Finney-Smith has played over 30 last couple games. I think he's a fair value. Not a high usage guy, but in this matchup, I could see going to him for some value. And then Jalen Brunson has actually been playing about 20 minutes. He's a decent point per minute guy. So I think he's actually a pretty solid value play. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet. And we've seen when LUKA is out, Brunson takes over. So I think Brunson is actually pretty decent value play there for it too. Moving on to the Pacers and the Nets. 8.6K for DOMANTAS SABONIS against this Brooklyn team. You saw what Detroit did, right? You guys saw. You guys know I love targeting players against Brooklyn. I don't think there's much. I don't think I need to say a whole lot about that Sabonis at that price in this matchup. Brogdon, also underpriced at 7.4. I am really high on the main three guys for the Pacers. Even Miles Turner, I think you can make the argument for. Now, my one concern with Turner is the minutes haven't been amazing for him. He's actually been losing some minutes, so I don't feel as comfortable about it. But Brogdon and Sabonis, I think, are two of the best plays in the slate. I love them both. Justin Holiday, I will let others chase. He is not going to continue to go for 30-plus fancy points. I will look elsewhere. Jeremy Lamb, minutes a little too inconsistent. McConnell, priced about right. McDermott, reliant on scoring, but he has played about 30 minutes the last 3 games. I could see getting to him. You just got to know the downside of he's got a pretty low floor if he's not hitting his shots. On the Brooklyn side, so yeah, it's not like Kyrie had a terrible game for me, but he literally had 45 through 3 quarters. I think he lost a fantasy point in that 4th quarter. So, I was like, oh man, 5% Kyrie. I am on pace. This is looking great. And then he just literally does nothing in the 4th. But yeah, with no Kevin Durant, I like both the Nets again. Even though the matchup isn't great against the Pacers, both Harden and both Kyrie, I think, are a little bit too cheap. Harden, again, a little bit of an outlier here. 5 blocks and 2 steals. We will not get that again. But this is where the offense is. No one else is going to do much offensively for the Brooklyn Nets. So Harris, Green, Jordan, meh. I mean, how many minutes did DeAndre Jordan play? 23? It's just sure, fine. Bruce Brown, I never know what to make of his minutes. I never know what to make of his minutes. In that Philly game, when 2 of the stars were out, if the game did not blow out, he was on pace for 15 minutes. The next game, when one of the stars is back and they have 2 stars, he plays 26 minutes. So it's just I don't know. If the minutes are there for Bruce Brown, he could be a decent value play. But I literally, just like Washington, I don't trust the secondary pieces on Brooklyn when there's 2 stars available. Charlotte and Memphis. So you guys knew LaMelo Ball is one of my favorite tournament plays at last slate. At low ownership, he crushed. Could have had a bigger game, too, if the game stayed close. So, sure, the price came up a little bit, but I still like LaMelo Ball a good amount here. With no Devontae Graham, he will play close to 40 minutes. So, I think that price tag will scare some people off. I'm fine going right back to LaMelo. Gordon Hayward's fine, but I would rather get to LaMelo Ball for a little bit more. Rozier, secondary play at that price. Cody Zeller, minutes been fluctuating for him. The rest of the guys I don't really trust, like Bridges, Washington, Monk, they're just, probably not going to get to anyone else. On the Memphis side, so Jonas Valanciunas at 7.4K, just out of nowhere plays 34 minutes. And this is a Memphis team that, after that long break, they really eased some people back into it. So according to the YouTube comments, I should have known that Jonas Valanciunas was the best play and he was going to play 34 minutes. No, but yeah, if these starters are going to play over 30 minutes, which we finally saw that last game, we finally saw it. 34 for JV. I don't know if we're going to get that again. But if we do, if we get 30 plus, I think he could have a really good game for his price. My one concern is we just saw 60 fancy points. So the ownership is going to be inflated. That is my one concern, right? Kind of like DeJounte Murray. That was why his ownership was inflated, because he had 8 steals the previous game or 7 steals. So the ownership will always be up on guys after a big game. That is my one concern. Now, Ja Morant, and I've played him a couple times. It was he only played 22, 25 minutes. 37 minutes that last game. And he shot the ball terribly. So, if we're going to get similar minutes, if I knew Ja Morant was going to play 37 minutes again, I would lock him into my lineup. That's how good of a play he is at this price if he plays 37 minutes. Will we? Not sure, because Memphis has been taking it easy, but it's good to see that we finally saw the main guys play over 30. So JV, Ja Morant, I do have some interest in a good matchup. The rest of the players, Slow-Mo, Brooks, secondary plays. I will mention Desmond Bane started the last game and played 26 minutes. If he starts again, I actually think he's a decent value play. So that's probably it for me on Memphis. Moving on to the Clippers and Minnesota. So Kawhi Leonard was a chalk bust that last game in a fantastic matchup with no Paul George. Again, I am fine going right back to the well here. The reason I don't think he's an absolute must play, because there's a lot of good players in good spots, like spend ups on the slate. So, but I do after a bad game, that's going to lower the ownership. So I would, like, the way I play DFS, I would rather buy into a guy after a bad game because I just know the ownership will be lower, right? So, like, I would rather take a shot on Kawhi than a chalky Jonas Valanciunas just because ownership. Like, Kawhi will not, I don't think he's going to be that high owned based off that last game, but love the matchup. He's legit got 60 plus fantasy point upside in this spot with no Paul George. So I do like him a lot at the top. We finally saw Lou Williams get extended, and we finally saw a good game from him. 23, 5, and 5. So price up to 5.5 now. It's still a little bit difficult for me to feel comfortable with it in cash games, but I think you can take a shot on him for tournaments. We're finally seeing the Lou Williams of old. Ibaka, Zubac, Reggie Jackson, only viable in tournaments if there's no Patrick Beverley. Minutes have been fluctuating on him, but he did play 31 that last game, so you could take a shot on him and hope the minutes are there. Again, Pat Beverley, if he's in, I'm not going to go to Reggie. Marcus Morris with no Paul George. I think he's an okay value play. He's played 28 and 25 minutes last couple games. I expect similar. Again, good matchup. So, like, I think, again, if you need someone cheap, decent. And then Terrence Mann, I will mention, did play 26 minutes that last game. If Pat Beverley's out again, I think you could realistically take a shot on him at 3-4. On the Minnesota side, not a lot I like. Cat doubtful, D'Lo questionable. If D'Lo's out, it's Malik Beasley and Anthony Edwards for tournaments. Malik Beasley went for 57. Again, he's the number one option if they're both those guys are out. I think he's a fine tournament play. Same with Anthony Edwards, who would have to do a lot more with those two guys out. So those two are good tournament plays in my opinion. Naz Reid at 6'3", did get in foul trouble. That's the risk with him. If he stays out of foul trouble, he probably plays close to the 30-minute mark. So he's always, again, in play for tournaments. The rest of the guys, I don't know if I get to anyone else here. They're getting healthy now. I will mention it was, where is he? It was Noel over McLaughlin that played. I don't think McLaughlin was active that last game. He played more of the backup point guard duties at 3.8K. If there's no D'Lo, I could see taking a shot in him for tournaments. New Orleans and Chicago. So you guys know I really liked Harding the Chicago team. So I actually mentioned the Patreon live stream. Willie Hernan-Gomez is one of my favorite contrarian value plays. Went 25 minutes, 38 fantasy points. Again, he's a good point per minute guy, and they actually closed with him. Now, what I'm worried about, kind of like Jonas Valanciunas, is people are going to look at this box score, and I think he's going to be decently popular. But if we get around 20 minutes from him in this matchup, I do think he's a solid value play. So I wanted to start off with him. Ingram, Zion, I think are both decent plays in a good matchup. Again, there's a lot of good stars, though, on the slate, so I don't know if either are priority. Lonzo, Bledsoe, kind of the same thing, right? Where there's just so many good plays in the slate that I don't know if any of these... They're all filler plays, in my opinion. Josh Hart, I think, will also be pretty popular. We got to be careful here. Zion got in some big foul trouble, so Josh Hart played huge minutes. He played 40 minutes. 20 points and 17 rebounds for Josh Hart. Now, he is a good rebounding guard, but 17... Like, what in the world? He will get nowhere close to that again. I expect around 25-ish minutes for Josh Hart, which I think makes for a decent value play. But just be careful. Do not expect anywhere close to that 50 fantasy point game from him that he got tonight. On the Chicago side, not a lot I like here. Levine, all right, contrarian play at 9K. Thad Young, a little pricey. Kobe White minutes up and down. Patrick Williams, Valentine didn't play as many as I expected. They gave some minute minutes to Temple, Satoransky. It's just, I don't really trust this rotation. Guys are kind of priced up. I'm probably just going to stay away from everyone in Chicago. Last 3 games here, Cleveland and Denver. I like Andre Drummond a lot for tournaments. He played 36 minutes that last game, and they started Jarrett Allen alongside of him, which really boosts his minutes. So if we're going to get 35 plus minutes from Andre Drummond, I think he's one of the best tournament plays in the slate. The reason I don't know if I can get to him in cash games is because foul trouble concerns going up against Nikola Jokic. That is a realistic opportunity, but or realistic possibility, I should say. But if he stays out of foul trouble, I think Drummond could have a massive game. So I do like him a good amount for tournaments. Sexton, Garland, secondary plays for me. Jarrett Allen, even though he started, it's just not that high. Like, I want to go to him when there's no Andre Drummond. When playing alongside Andre Drummond, he just doesn't have as high of a usage. So would rather just pay up for Drummond. And that's probably it for me on Cleveland. On the Denver side, really it's only Jokic in tournaments at 11K. Don't think he's a must play, but he's a guy that obviously has enormous upside. It's a good matchup. So perfectly fine going to Jokic for tournaments. Murray, MPJ, Barton, all just kind of filler plays for me. No one else really stands out. OKC and the Lakers. So this is an interesting one. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They should have 8 healthy bodies again. Now, they have like literally no guards. They have no guards. So Hamidou Diallo should have to play almost the entire game. He played 41 minutes that last game with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I like him a ton for tournaments. I think you could even go there in cash games because they literally have 8 healthy bodies. So really like Hamidou Diallo because I assume he's going to play the point guard a majority of the game. Al Horford at 6'2". Positives and negatives here. Negatives, he shot 6 of 20 the last game. The positive, he played 34. Well, I guess, yeah, that game went to overtime, actually. So I forgot about that. So, yeah, Hamidou Diallo, 41, so 36 in regulation. I did forget about that. So, okay, never mind. Yeah, because I was saying, Horford, never plays over 30. So I forgot the game went to overtime. So Horford against the Lakers is still viable. No SGA. We've seen some big games from him. I like him in tournaments. Baisley, kind of the same thing. Has been a little up and down, but he's going to have to play huge minutes. No SGA. All three of the main guys, Diallo, Horford, and Baisley, I think are good in tournaments. I think if I had to pick one, it would be Diallo, just because that's where the thinnest, right, at guard. They have, no guards. Now, again, no Maledon, no SGA. Kenneth Williams came off the bench at 4'7". He played 30 minutes. I think he's a decent value play. I think there's a chance he might start. Lou Dort at 4'4". He's just more out there for his defense. He's shown upside a couple times, but most of the time he has a pretty low floor. So if you want to take a shot at him and hope he hits his threes, you can, but I don't love it. So 3 guys off the bench, or I think will come off the bench, will be Jackson, Roby, and Darius Miller. Depends. If Isaiah Roby starts, I think he's one of the best value plays of the slate because 3.7 would be too cheap. If he comes off the bench, not as excited about his minutes, but would still like him at that price. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Depends on the starting lineup. If Roby starts, I like him a lot for tournaments. Jackson, Miller, if I had to pick one of those guys, I guess it would be Justin Jackson. He's been playing more, but he's just a low usage guy, so don't love it. On the Lakers side, so we're waiting on Anthony Davis news. He is once again questionable. LeBron James at 10-2 is firmly in play for tournaments. He had a big game, again, in overtime, but he's got huge upside in this matchup. The worry is, can the Thunder keep it close to no SGA? There's a really good chance this game does not stay competitive, so you got to take that into consideration. Now, if there's no Anthony Davis, it's Schroeder, Kuzma, and Harrell that I like in the mid-range. Now, I will mention, really frustrating, Kyle Kuzma only played 23 minutes that game with no AD. So if he comes off the bench again, I'm a little bit worried about the minutes, so I would probably rather have Schroeder and Harrell, who I think are both good plays in the mid-range. Now, THT, I do think is a decent value play. Played 27 minutes in a close game. I expect if this game blows out, he will play more. So if you're taking that blowout factor, I think THT would probably be the guy I'd look to. There's no way I'm chasing Wes Matthews. I know he went for 29 fantasy points. There's absolutely no way I'm chasing that. The guy that I think is okay if he starts is Markieff Morris. He played 26 minutes. Now, he wasn't great in that time, but if he starts again, I think we get similar minutes. And at min price, I think Markieff Morris actually would be an okay punt play. Final game here, Milwaukee and Phoenix. So Milwaukee's normally a team that's kind of like Giannis to me, and that's it. Well, that changes with Drew Holiday being out. So Giannis at 10-6 with no Drew Holiday, I think is firmly in play at the top. Chris Middleton went for a massive game the last game when Drew was out, went for 63 fantasy points. I think he is firmly in play here at 8K. Again, both him and Giannis are going to have to do a lot more offensively. And now we're going to talk about these value guys. So Dante DiVincenzo, fair play. Played about 30 minutes. We'll have to do a little bit more offensively. Did have 3 steals and 2 blocks, so it's yeah, I think he's fine. I think the guys where I really look to are the value guards. So do I love any of these guys? No, but I definitely think you can take a shot on one of these guys. So Bryn Forbes technically started at the point guard, even though he's not going to have, he's more of a shooter, right? Giannis is going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Middleton will have the ball in his hands a lot. So there is some risk with Forbes. He's kind of scoring dependent, but if he starts again, I think we get mid-20s minutes, which would make him in play for value. DJ Augustine came out the bench and played 21 minutes. I think he's a decent value. And then you even have Pat Connaughton, who played 21 minutes. All these cheap guys are playable. Torrey Craig, I think, is okay too. Again, do I feel good about any of these guys? Not really. But all these guys should play, around 20, 25-ish minutes. So all those value guys are viable for me in Milwaukee. Finally, Phoenix. So got to wait on Chris Paul news. If he is out, I think Devin Booker is one of the better tournament plays of the slate. Went for a massive game. Again, the floor is just so much higher when there's no Chris Paul because he will run the point guard a majority of the game. So I would like Devin Booker a lot for tournaments. I also would like DeAndre Ayton for tournaments too. Both those guys played big minutes. Matchup-wise against Brook Lopez or even Bobby Portis, Ayton should, keyword should, be able to have his way. So I like both those guys if there's no Chris Paul. If Chris Paul's in, I'm honestly probably just going to avoid Phoenix. Now, when Chris Paul is out, Etuan Moore plays 40 minutes with no Chris Paul. I think he's a fine value play if there's no Chris Paul again and he starts. But just be careful. He is also pretty reliant in the scoring. And then Frank Kaminsky, if Jay Crowder's out again and there's no Chris Paul, he played 29 minutes, a decent point per minute guy. I could see going to him at that price point. But yeah, that's really it for the team-by-team breakdown, guys. And I think that's going to do it for the video as well. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't know live. Thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you all in the live stream tomorrow.